A woman does not win with love, but with perception. She does not dominate with force, but with subtlety. Her nature works in the shadows, shaping the man without him noticing. In this video, I will reveal 3 secrets that expose the true feminine power: brutal, silent, and calculated. If you are expecting romance, stop now. Here we will talk about control, manipulation, and vulnerability as weapons. Prepare yourself to face her hidden side. There are 3 secrets in female nature that almost no man fully understands, not because they are impossible to see, but because most men prefer to deceive themselves rather than accept what is uncomfortable. Women, just like men, seek power, security, and control, but rarely in the direct and obvious way men imagine. They operate through indirect, emotional, and symbolic means, and it is exactly this subtlety that makes them dangerously effective when dealing with unprepared men. A man believes that strength is born from shouting, authority, and command. A woman knows that strength is born from suggestion, from silence, from doubt gently planted in the mind. While the man tries to bend the world through confrontation, the woman tilts it through influence. And here lies the first Machiavellian secret. A woman dominates through perception, not reality. She does not need to be the most beautiful. She only needs to seem the most desired. She does not need to be innocent. She only needs to appear untouched. She does not need to be faithful. She only needs to appear inaccessible to others and devoted to the man she has chosen to manipulate. Feminine power exists in the realm of appearances. She knows that the male gaze creates myths, and the myth can be used as a weapon. The man's mistake is confusing appearance with essence. He falls in love with the theater she performs, and when he wakes up, he has already been conquered, shaped, and tamed. The woman understands the psychology of scarcity and uses it with mastery. When she gives little, the man values a lot. When she pulls away, the man moves closer. When she shows indifference, the man begs. The ancients already knew, whoever shows less need controls the one who shows more. And here the second secret is revealed. The woman dominates through emotion, while the man tries to dominate through logic. It is useless to win the argument, she wins through emotion. A man may logically prove that he is right, but if the woman makes him feel that he is wrong, he will lose. An intelligent woman never faces a man in the field where he is strongest: strength, discipline, toughness, and logic. She simply moves him to the field where he is weak: emotion, validation, desire. The modern man feels strong because he lifts weights, but he collapses in front of a single tear. He believes he could survive wars and battles, but he cannot resist the fear of losing a woman's love. And she knows this. From early on, she learns that her greatest power is not the body, but the male mind that bends before it. The third secret is the most hidden one. A woman seeks power through bonding, not through force. For a man, freedom is power. For a woman, control is power, and she controls by creating bonds: emotional, sexual, and social dependence. This is why a woman prefers to destroy a man's self-esteem before letting him escape. She knows that men with low self-esteem rarely leave a relationship. A man who feels insufficient begs. A man who feels guilty apologizes. A man who feels inferior accepts conditions, sacrifices, and losses. The modern man, raised on the fantasy of equality and romance, has forgotten the basic truth. Every human relationship is a game of influence. She knows she can shape a man's identity, make him believe he is too aggressive, too sensitive, too cold, or not loving enough. And by doing this, she reduces his authority and increases her own. When a man loses confidence in himself, he looks for external approval. When he looks for approval, he gives away power. So the woman, who understands the language of affection, becomes the emotional provider of the validation he has lost. Look around. Men in love sacrifice goals, friendships, principles, even their own dignity, while women in love sacrifice time, but never strategy. The man gives himself, bends, and adapts. The woman observes, calculates, and tests. And here is an essential point. A woman constantly tests a man, not because of insecurity, but because of strategy. Tests serve to measure resistance, submission, fragility, and the potential for control. The man's mistake is to see these tests as whims, when in fact they are precise tools of psychological evaluation. That is why she watches how you react to rejection, jealousy, silence, and criticism. If you fall apart, you become useful, easy to manipulate. If you remain firm, she respects and fears you. A woman does not seek love, she seeks value. Love is the consequence. Value is the condition, and value is not declared, it is perceived. This game is as old as humanity. The woman uses emotional impact to shape the man, while the man uses physical impact to shape the world. If he is the architect of the external structures, she is the architect of the internal ones. Governments fall because of wars. but also because of intrigue. Empires are built with swords, but destroyed with whispers. Strength shapes the body, influence shapes the mind. And here lies the truth that nobody wants to admit. A woman, when aware of these secrets, is more dangerous than a man because her power is not visible. The man may be armed, the woman is strategic. The man strikes, the woman plots. The man threatens, the woman seduces. And seduction is simply the art of making the other person willingly submit. Male naivety is believing that seduction is sexual. Seduction is psychological. The body is the bait, the mind is the prey, and when the man finally wakes up, it is already too late. He has already been shaped. If there is something men ignore, it is this. Women rarely fight for power openly. She doesn't need to declare control, she simply creates the conditions for power to come to her by exploring the deepest weaknesses of the man, his ego, his need for validation, and his ancient fear of loneliness. The man believes he is choosing, but many times he is only reacting to situations planned by a strategic woman. She does not control like a tyrant, she controls like a general, positioning herself, creating impact, shaping the environment, creating scarcity, and directing emotions. The greatest female victory happens when she makes the man believe he is leading, while in reality, he is only following the path she quietly prepared. He feels in control, while walking on the road she paved. That is why men who think they control emotions often become the perfect prey. They think they dominate because they speak loudly, decide things, or pay the bills. But they don't realize their decisions were shaped by affection, desire, or the fear of losing her. A Machiavellian woman understands that control is not taken, it is earned with patience. Men act with explosions, women act with consistency. An explosion can destroy a castle, but consistency builds silent empires. While the man is driven by urgency, the woman operates through accumulation. Small influences over time create dependence, loyalty, and guilt. And this is where many get lost. They believe a woman wants romantic love. No, romantic love is only the tool. What she wants is emotional, social, and even financial security. And security is another word for power. The woman who controls a man's mind has more power than the one who controls his body. A body can escape, but a captive mind remains imprisoned even in freedom. The man in love becomes blind. The woman in love becomes strategic. The man believes. The woman analyzes. He says, "She loves me." She says, "He can serve me." And when that answer is yes, the work of shaping begins. Here is a cruel truth. A woman does not get disappointed in a man. She simply recalculates what she can get from him. That is why she rewards and punishes. She comes closer when she wants something and pulls away when the man starts believing he has already won everything. Female distance is a weapon few men understand. They think distance means lack of interest, but in reality, it is a test. She wants to see whether the man collapses, begs, fights, or stays firm. If he collapses, she marks it down. Controllable. This game is so old that it is already coded into human behavior. The man fights to conquer. The woman fights to maintain power. The man conquers territory. The woman conquers hearts. And whoever controls the mind controls the body and actions. Look at a normal relationship. The man often loses friends, hobbies, identity, and goals just to please and keep the woman satisfied. She rarely does the same. She demands, he gives in. She complains, he changes. She tests, he explains himself. And it all begins with small details. A comment about his friends, a complaint about his choices, a criticism about his social behavior. Little by little, he adjusts. Worse, he believes he is doing it for love and not out of submission. The genius of the feminine is hiding control as affection, and the naivety of the masculine is accepting this as natural. The woman who deeply understands her nature realizes that she doesn't need to shout. Her silence is already a sentence. The absence of affection is punishment. Presence is reward, and she distributes these doses with the precision of an alchemist. All this leads to one uncomfortable truth. A man who does not control his own mind will inevitably be controlled by a woman who controls hers. And it is not because the woman is evil, it is because she understands something the man ignores. The world is not ruled by physical strength, but by the ability to influence. That is why women have always dominated invisible fields: reputation, honor, guilt, social approval. While the man fought wars, the woman decided who was honorable or dishonorable. She destroyed with words what swords had built. The man may have won wars, but it was the woman who decided who was worthy of celebrating them or ashamed for having fought them. Here is another Machiavellian secret. The woman dominates through narrative. Whoever tells the story controls the memory. Whoever controls the memory controls behavior. In intimacy, she creates myths. You will never find anyone better than me. No one understands you like I do. I am the only one who truly knows who you are. These phrases are not affection, they are chains. They do not celebrate the man, they imprison him. And when the man absorbs this narrative, he loses autonomy. He begins to think that his strength comes from her. And when he believes his strength comes from her, he fears losing her. And when he fears losing her, he submits. This is the final triumph, emotional control disguised as love. And the man who does not understand this game fights with the wrong weapons. He tries to convince, argue, and explain, not realizing he is fighting a psychological war with a logical sword. He tries to rationalize what was imposed emotionally. That is why so many men leave relationships destroyed, while women leave strengthened. They were never investing a naive heart, they were investing strategy. A woman who loses love may cry, a woman who loses control may go crazy. And at this point, many ask, does a woman love? Yes, but female love is not blind. It is selective, it is practical, it is conditional. She loves the man who can protect her. She loves the man who can lift her up. She loves the man who can strengthen her. And above all, she loves the man who cannot be easily dominated. Because a woman respects what she fears losing and despises what she can control. The ordinary man believes that female love is driven by purity, sacrifice, and devotion. This is the story sold to him, and he accepts it because it comforts his vanity. But love, in its raw feminine form, is linked to calculation, not only emotional, but strategic. A woman loves what benefits her, protects her, elevates her, or awakens her. The man romanticizes love as destiny. The woman uses it as a tool, and that is why, throughout history, kings knelt before women while they remained seated. A woman rarely gives herself to a man who is inferior unless that man can be shaped. She does not seek male submission, she seeks psychological dominance. The great male illusion is believing that female submission exists. A woman may yield in actions, but she keeps autonomy in her mind. She pretends submission to expand power. Pretending weakness when strong always confuses the opponent. Pretending innocence when intentional removes suspicion. And pretending unconditional love disarms even the hardest man. Female love is a field where she operates with precision. If the man is needy, she gives crumbs. If he is independent, she gives sweetness. If he is insecure, she gives desire. If he is strong, she gives challenge. She offers exactly enough to keep interest, never enough to saturate. Because male saturation kills desire, scarcity feeds it. The woman understands the power of almost, the almost touch, the almost love, the almost commitment. It is the almost that traps. The man thinks he is one step away from fully winning her, and that unreachable step keeps him running. Men run after what they can almost reach. Women hold what they never fully give. And behind all of this lies the greatest Machiavellian advantage of the woman, social influence. A woman does not only control the man, she controls how others see the man. When she shapes his reputation, she shapes his behavior. The man who fears judgment becomes flexible. She praises him publicly when she wants him to feel like a hero. She humiliates him in private when she wants to break his resistance. She understands the difference between public praise and private criticism. One strengthens, the other destroys silently. And notice how she uses language with mastery. A woman's words are not direct, they are suggestive. The man says, "You are wrong." The woman says, "It's funny that you think like that." The man accuses, the woman implies, and implication destroys more than accusation because it disarms and confuses. She creates doubt, and doubt is a wound that does not heal easily. That is why, in conflicts, the man shouts to win while the woman whispers to corrode. He believes he has won because silence was achieved. She knows she has won because she changed his mind, and all of this works inside an even deeper structure. The woman understands the value of vulnerability as a weapon. When she cries, she is not weak. She is using the most primitive mechanism of the man, the instinct to protect. The man who believes he is rational cannot resist a tear. He feels guilty, responsible, and guilt is a stronger chain than love. A single tear can disarm a tyrant. And that is why the woman rarely uses force. She doesn't need to. She controls the man through guilt, affection, longing, and validation. And the men who do not understand this become emotional fools. They believe they are avoiding conflict when in reality they are being guided exactly where she wanted. This power becomes very clear in the cycle of a relationship. First, enchantment, then idealization, then conquest. After that, testing, and finally, control. Enchantment creates interest. Idealization creates the myth. Conquest creates surrender. Testing creates submission. And control creates dependence. When the man becomes dependent, she can ask, demand, and shape him. He will obey without realizing he is obeying. He thinks he is choosing to give in, but in reality, he has been conditioned. And maybe the most cruel part of this nature is this. A woman respects only the man who does not bend. She may stay with the submissive man, but she does not admire him. She may love the kind man, but she does not revere him. The man she truly desires is the one who understands the game, not to dominate her physically, but to neutralize her emotional manipulation. If a man controls his emotions, she respects him. If a man controls his actions, she fears him. If a man controls his need for validation, she desires him, because a woman desires what she cannot control and despises what she controls too much. Here lies the male tragedy. He believes pleasing creates love. In truth, pleasing creates boredom. He believes sacrificing himself creates devotion. In truth, sacrifice creates rejection. He believes surrender creates security. In truth, surrender creates weakness. A woman seeks value before she seeks love, and value is born from independence. That is why women suffer for men who do not want them and despise men who want them too much. The man who understands this does not hate the woman. He learns how to deal with her, and the one who does not understand becomes a servant. The woman deeply understands the psychological effect of uncertainty, and this is one of the most sophisticated pillars of her power. The man seeks stability and predictability in relationships. He believes that the more transparent things are, the safer the bond will be. But the woman, consciously or not, understands that predictability creates comfort, and comfort creates neglect. So she alternates between presence and absence, sweetness and coldness, affection and distance. Not by accident. Many men feel more alive when they are insecure, when they need to fight, prove, and pursue. The woman creates this emotional swing because she knows a man becomes more devoted when he is emotionally unstable. And here there is something even more Machiavellian. A woman, when she masters this dynamic, never gives everything she has. She gives only enough to keep the flame of male hope burning, but never enough to fully satisfy. This planned scarcity is not coincidence, it is strategy. The emotionally hungry man becomes more obedient, more moldable, more attentive. He looks for answers, tries to decode her, tries to understand her, tries to win her again. And while he tries, she evaluates. It is a silent but brutal game. The naive man interprets this variation as feminine emotional confusion. He thinks she doesn't know what she wants. He is mistaken. Many times she knows exactly what she wants: control. And nothing controls a man more than hope. Hope of being loved, being chosen, being validated, being needed. Hope is the emotional hook that the woman uses to capture without trapping, dominate without declaring, command without ordering. The man lives for what he wants to conquer. The woman rules through what she withholds. And within this dynamic, there is an even more refined tactic. The woman does not only control the man, she controls the environment around him. She controls who comes near him, who influences him, and who threatens her position. That is why, in many relationships, she isolates the man socially, not openly, but through gradual wear. A criticism here, a comment there, a comparison elsewhere, until the man begins to see everyone around him as a threat to the relationship. She doesn't order him to cut friends, she only questions their influence. She doesn't demand family distance, she only plants doubt. She doesn't forbid hobbies, she simply devalues them. And the man, believing he is acting freely, abandons everything. And when he abandons, he becomes even more dependent. This dependence does not come from love. It comes from isolation, from guilt, from need. Because a man without a social, emotional, or family network becomes an orphan in the world, leaving only her as the center of everything. This is one of the darkest secrets of female psychology. A woman does not need to control many areas. She only needs to control the emotional one. Who controls emotion controls decision. Who controls decision controls action. And here comes another inconvenient truth. The woman does not compete for equality with the man. She competes for advantage. The discourse of equality serves to calm the male ego, to make him lower his guard. But in practice, the woman does not want to be equal to the man. She wants to be superior to the man she chose, superior emotionally, socially, and psychologically. And she realizes that she does not need to compete with male strength. She only needs to guide it. The man is like a wild horse. The woman does not need to break him. She only needs to place the right saddle on him. And this saddle is made of 3 materials: validation, desire, and vulnerability. With validation, she feeds his ego. With desire, she holds his attention. With vulnerability, she activates his protection. And when a man wants to protect that which validates his ego, he is condemned, because he begins to defend the woman even when he is being destroyed by her. That is why men stay with women who diminish them. It is not love, it is emotional conditioning. And there is another secret that men rarely notice. The woman manipulates possible futures. The man lives in the present, the woman projects the future. She talks about plans because she wants to shape behavior. Plans are not dreams, they are chains. She describes an ideal future in order to control the present. When she says, "Imagine our house, imagine our family, imagine our future," she is creating an emotional anchor. And when the man accepts the future, he also accepts control over the present. Not by accident. When the woman wants to punish, she destroys the future. When she wants to seduce, she creates a future. This manipulation of time is one of the most sophisticated feminine weapons. While the man plans external conquests, the woman plans internal ones. And perhaps the peak of this Machiavellian nature is this. The woman never attacks from the front. She attacks from the inside. She infiltrates, integrates, adapts. And when the man realizes it, he no longer knows how to separate his own desires from her influence. His mind becomes an extension of her will. This is the true domination, not when he obeys, but when he believes the command came from himself. While the man fights with swords, she fights with words. While the man fights with force, she fights with doubt. While the man fights with imposition, she fights with suggestion. And in the end, almost always, she is the one who wins. The woman, when she is truly aware of her nature, understands that power is not in confrontation, but in influence. And influence is not gained through force, but through perception. Perception is the feminine weapon. She observes before acting, studies before investing, calculates before surrendering. The man is enchanted by what he sees. The woman is enchanted by what she foresees. This difference is what makes the game unequal, because while the man reacts, the woman anticipates. The fundamental mistake of the modern man is believing that the woman is fragile because she is emotional. In truth, she is emotional because she discovered that emotion is the most efficient form of control. To rationalize requires effort. To feel requires instinct. Emotion bypasses logic, paralyzes strength, and captures behavior. The man thinks with his mind. The woman thinks with the impact she creates in his mind. That is why the woman dominates without appearing to dominate. She creates illusions, narratives, perceptions, expectations, and the man acts according to them. He thinks he is deciding, when in reality he is only responding to the script she wrote. And she deeply understands the psychology of attraction. A man gives himself when he believes he is admired. He sacrifices himself when he believes he is needed. He becomes hard when he believes he is feared. But he becomes a slave when he believes he is loved. Love, for a man, is weakness disguised as virtue. And the woman who is aware of this uses it as a lever. The lever is simple. Where there is love, there is fear of losing. Where there is fear of losing, there is submission. Where there is submission, there is control. The woman who controls the man's fear controls his behavior. Observe the phenomenon. How many men abandon their ambitions to preserve a relationship? How many stop evolving out of fear of losing female approval? How many betray their own identity to keep the relationship stable? This is not love. This is well-executed emotional manipulation. And ironically, this is why the woman respects men who do not give in easily. The man who does not abandon his goals for her, who does not negotiate his limits, who does not beg for attention, this is the man she cannot dominate, and for that very reason, desires. The woman does not love what she controls. She loves what resists, because what resists has value, and value is what she seeks before anything else. Every woman tests masculine limits. She pushes, pressures, provokes, not to destroy, but to measure. Measure how far she can go, measure how much he can take, measure whether he bends. If he bends too early, she despises him. If he never bends, she fears him. If he bends only when he decides, she admires him. This admiration is rare. This admiration is the foundation of female respect, and respect is the only form of love that does not turn into contempt. A woman may love a weak man, but in the end she will despise him. She may admire kindness, but she will never admire submission. She may get involved with a man out of emotional need, but she only becomes truly involved out of respect when he becomes impossible to manipulate. The male tragedy is confusing love with approval. The man wants to be approved. The woman wants to be guided. Yes, guided. Not brutally dominated, but led by someone who does not fall apart at the first smile or tear. The intelligent woman seeks an emotional anchor, not a doormat. And most men offer themselves as doormats while trying to become anchors. When a man revolves around the woman, he loses value. When the woman revolves around the man, she destroys him. When both revolve around themselves, there is balance. But balance rarely interests the feminine game. Balance prevents advantage, and advantage is the foundation of control. And here we arrive at another crucial point. The woman controls reality through emotional narrative. What she feels becomes what happened. The man argues with facts. The woman argues with sensations. In the conflict between fact and feeling, feeling wins. A woman does not need to defeat logic to win the discussion. She wins because the man is afraid of causing pain. And the one who fears causing pain ends up making concessions. That is why female silence is frightening. That is why crying is devastating. That is why a look of contempt destroys. The woman doesn't need to shout to hurt. She only needs to withdraw her approval. And the modern man, without emotional backbone, collapses. Deep down, the male subconscious fears three things: being insufficient, being rejected, being replaced. And the woman, consciously or not, uses these three fears as triggers. She makes him feel insufficient when she wants to control him, rejects him when she wants to weaken him, and threatens to replace him when she wants to shape him, all while maintaining the appearance of fragility. Fragility is a facade. Manipulation is engineering. The woman is not a villain, but she is not a saint either. She is a strategist, and the man who does not understand this will not be loved. He will be used. There is a point in this psychological game that few men see. The woman rarely destroys immediately, she corrodes. She doesn't need to rip a man's strength away. It is enough that he gives it up little by little, believing he is still in control. The Machiavellian woman does not demand submission, she builds submission. She does not take authority, she gradually reduces his authority until he abandons it himself. This process is almost invisible because it does not happen in big events, but in small concessions. The man gives up a detail today, tomorrow a habit, later a friendship, eventually a principle. And when he notices, he no longer recognizes who he is or when the change began. The intelligent woman never directly attacks the male ego, she empties it. She knows that if she attacks the ego, the man will resist. But if she deflates the ego, he will bow. And how do you empty an ego? Not with open humiliation, but with suggestions, subtle comparisons, indirect devaluation. Why are you like this? The father of that friend is so responsible. That man really knows how to treat a woman. These phrases seem innocent. They are not. They are blows to the armor. The woman doesn't need to knock the castle down. She only needs to open a crack. Once the crack exists, the rest collapses by itself. And when the man becomes emotionally vulnerable, he starts accepting what he would never accept before. He changes his personality to please. He changes his routine to avoid conflict. He changes his dreams to avoid disappointing her. The woman does not take away what the man is. She convinces him to abandon it. This is the peak of control, the dominated one who believes he is acting by his own will. And when the man finally wakes up, he discovers that he has not only lost freedom, he has lost identity. But here there is an even darker revelation. Not every woman wants to enslave a man, but every woman will test whether she can, not out of evil, but out of survival. The woman wants to know the value of the man, and value is measured by resistance. If he resists manipulation, she admires him. If he gives in easily, she despises him. The woman does want power, but she wants power over someone who is not fragile. She does not desire to control the weak. She desires to control the strong. Controlling the strong validates her own power. Controlling the weak only validates her boredom. That is why so many women stay with submissive men, but secretly fantasize about untamable men. The weak man serves everyday life. The strong man serves the imagination. And here is another Machiavellian secret. A woman does not idealize love. She idealizes emotional dominance. She wants to feel that she can change a man's destiny. She wants to feel that she can change his decisions. She wants to feel that she has impact. The worst punishment for a woman is not rejection. It is irrelevance. Ignoring her hurts more than confronting her. Being immune to her hurts more than dominating her. The man who does not react to feminine provocations triggers obsession. The man who reacts immediately declares submission. This is the dance. She provokes to measure. He gives in and loses value. He resists and becomes desirable. The man who understands this never discusses power with women. He demonstrates it. Male power is not declared. It is perceived. And when a woman perceives emotional power in a man, two things happen. First, she respects him. Second, she tests him even more, because testing is validating, and validating is measuring value. And male value for the strategic woman is never in money, body, or speech. It is in the mind, and the mind is revealed in reaction. The man who controls his reaction controls the game. The man who reacts impulsively gives himself away. And this leads us to the most brutal secret of all. The woman understands that male love is naive. The man loves with surrender. The woman loves with calculation. The man loves because he feels. The woman loves because she chooses. For the man, love is destiny. For the woman, love is selection. And every selection is based on psychological, emotional, social, or material advantages. This means that a woman does not love the man for what he is now, but for what he represents. He represents security, represents growth, represents comfort, represents power, represents status, represents future. And when that future no longer exists, the love no longer exists. The man loves through memory. The woman loves through projection. That is why the man returns to the past and the woman discards him for the future. The man suffers for what was. The woman suffers for what could have been. This difference defines the entire game. The man is trapped in yesterday. The woman is trapped in tomorrow. And whoever controls tomorrow controls the now. By nature, the woman negotiates the future to manipulate the present. She promises, she suggests, she implies, and the man moves. The woman does not push, she pulls. She does not order, she influences. She does not demand, she convinces. She does not fight, she wears down. And in the end, when she gets what she wants, she changes. Because the goal was never the present. The goal was power. And when that power is achieved, boredom appears, disinterest appears, coldness appears, because the value was not in possessing the man, but in dominating him. The man who does not understand this will be a victim. The man who understands this will be free. The most dangerous moment for a man is not when he loses the woman, but when he believes he has completely conquered her. Because it is exactly at that moment that he relaxes, lowers his guard, and becomes predictable. And predictability is the exact point where the woman gains advantage. There is no emotional control where there is predictability. The woman who knows the game understands that when a man believes he is safe, he begins to reveal his weaknesses, his fears, his insecurities, and she records everything. Each detail stored is not an emotional memory, it is psychological ammunition. And the woman does not use this ammunition immediately, she stores it. Real strategy is not revealed in the heat of an argument, but in the moment of darkness when the right word causes emotional devastation. She can keep for months a simple comment, a confessed weakness, an exposed guilt, and use it at the moment it is most useful. The man thinks the woman forgets, but the woman never forgets, she only archives, and each archive is a lever of guilt, a lever of doubt, a lever of submission. The feminine strategy is not to erase a man's self-esteem, it is to hack it. She doesn't need to make the man hate himself. She only needs to make him feel insufficient beside her. When he believes he is not good enough, he tries to compensate. And when he tries to compensate, he gives away power. That is why many women create subtle insecurities, comments about other people, indirect remarks about impossible standards, comparative praise toward others. Nothing destroys a man more silently than the feeling that he is not enough for his own woman. And nothing strengthens the woman more silently than making him believe this. This is the poison many never notice, served in doses so small it seems harmless, but together it becomes lethal. The man believes love is sacrifice. The woman knows love is currency, and currency is invested where there is return. That is why the woman never gives herself completely, because when she gives herself, she loses currency. When she loses currency, she loses advantage. She prefers to keep the man in emotional debt. In debt, he keeps trying to pay, and in trying, he submits. And the most dangerous part is that she can do all this while smiling. Female control rarely has a cruel face. It has a sweet face, a soft voice, a fragile look. The mask of fragility is the woman's most powerful shield. Whoever attacks the weak appears tyrannical. Whoever resists the weak appears cruel. The woman wins without fighting because she chooses the battlefield where fighting is defeat for the other side. The man knows how to react to force, but he does not know how to react to vulnerability, and that is why she uses it. The man who does not understand this mechanism becomes either brutal or submissive. Brutality is born from despair. Submission is born from guilt, and neither of these behaviors creates feminine respect. The woman respects only the man who resists without violence and without servitude. The man who does not bend, but also does not try to bend others. The man who sees the game and chooses to remain unshaken. This man is rare, and that is why he is desired. The woman manipulates the weak, but admires the strong. She controls the submissive, but desires the immune. And this immunity is not indifference, it is self-control. The man who controls his emotions controls the rhythm. And when he controls the rhythm, he removes from the woman her greatest weapon, emotional oscillation. If the woman cannot provoke, she cannot measure. If she cannot measure, she cannot control. If she cannot control, she becomes lost. And here is the most ironic part of all. The woman looks for exactly the kind of man she cannot control, because he awakens fear and fascination at the same time. Fear because he is unpredictable. Fascination because he is unreachable. The woman falls in love with the challenge, and the challenge is not the man who gives in, but the man who does not change for her. Not changing does not mean ignoring her, it means not losing your essence. The woman tests to see if she can steal your essence. If she succeeds, you will be loved, until she gets bored. If she does not succeed, you will be respected, and maybe even feared. And respect keeps desire alive. What many do not understand is this: love does not sustain attraction. Respect does. Desire is not born from need, it is born from admiration. The woman does not desire the man she controls. She uses him, tolerates him, benefits from him, but she does not desire him. True feminine desire appears before the man she does not fully understand, does not fully possess, does not fully dominate. It is the mystery that consumes her, and the resistance that intrigues her. And if there is a Machiavellian secret greater than all the others, it is this: the woman can manipulate all men, except the one who does not depend on her, and that is the only kind of man she will never forget. There is a cruel paradox that very few men notice. The more a woman can control a man, the less she values him. The less she can control him, the more interested she becomes. This happens because for the woman, control is a synonym for security, but also a synonym for boredom. Security maintains, boredom kills. So she oscillates between wanting to dominate and wanting to be challenged. The woman desires control, but she desires even more what she cannot control. And here is the darkest psychological game. To test the man, the woman creates chaos. Not because she likes chaos, but because in chaos, true character appears. She provokes jealousy to measure possessiveness. She provokes silence to measure insecurity. She provokes coldness to measure desperation. She provokes conflict to measure firmness. If the man reacts excessively, she classifies him as emotionally weak. If he does not react, she intensifies the test. And if even then he does not lose control, she begins to respect him. And when respect appears, the game changes, because feminine respect is the door to something that love cannot open: emotional submission. A woman may love a weak man, but she only submits emotionally to the strong one. And emotional submission is not servitude. It is fascination, devotion, continuous attraction. When the woman respects, she lowers her defenses, abandons manipulation, reduces tests, not because she lost power, but because she found someone worthy of it. The woman does not seek equality, she seeks leadership. Not authoritarian leadership, not brutal leadership, but emotional leadership. The woman wants to feel that she is with a man capable of guiding her, not a man she needs to guide. This is the distinction that destroys millions of modern relationships. The man wants to please. The woman wants to admire. The man tries to be lovable. The woman looks for the admirable. That is why the man who adjusts himself too much loses value, while the man who keeps his posture all the time becomes a constant source of desire. And here is the Machiavellian secret that few reveal. A woman never fully reveals herself to the man she can dominate. She reveals herself to the man she does not need to dominate. That is, the one who is able to see her without losing himself in her. The woman constantly tests the limit between control and freedom. She wants to know if she can break the man, and she wants to know if he resists. The man who resists does not need to shout. His strength is in silence, in posture, in the absence of desperation, in the lack of need. The greatest emotional weakness of a man is need. Needing the woman means losing the game. Desiring is natural. Needing is defeat. And the woman notices this immediately. The man who needs is controllable. The man who desires but does not need is free. And freedom is the greatest male power. The woman can control the weak, can seduce the insecure, can manipulate the needy, but she can do nothing with the independent man. He is the mirror of her greatest ambition and her greatest fear. Ambition, because she wants to be with someone like that. Fear, because she cannot dominate someone like that. And in love, desire always speaks louder than fear. The independent man reveals to the woman something she rarely admits. She does not want to control everything. She wants to feel she is with someone stronger than her, not physically, but emotionally. Male emotional strength is the only power capable of neutralizing the feminine game. It is not shouting, it is not imposition, it is not jealousy, it is not possession, it is self-control. The woman who finds a man with self-control is forced to leave the role of manipulator and enter the role of partner. And this transition is either the end of the game or the beginning of a much rarer one, true connection. Because finally, she finds someone who was not conquered by her appearance, but by his essence. And essence is something the woman cannot shape, only recognize. That is why the man who knows his value can choose to love without becoming a slave. He can choose to give without emptying himself. He can choose to stay without losing himself. This man does not fight against female nature. He understands and masters his own. And when he masters his own, her attempts become irrelevant. A woman can only manipulate the man who does not know himself. The man who knows himself is invulnerable. He does not fear losing the woman because he knows he will never lose himself. And this is the supreme freedom in the game of emotional power. The woman may choose to stay, but she can never force him to kneel. And the man who does not kneel is the only one she truly desires. In the end, all this dance between men and women is not about love, nor romance, nor destiny. It is about power. It always was. It always will be. The man calls love what destroys him. The woman calls love what benefits her. The man suffocates with surrender. The woman manipulates with absence, and both lie. The man, out of naivety. The woman, out of strategy. What nobody admits is that behind every romantic story, there is a calculation of dominance. She wants someone she can control. He wants someone who can fill him. But control and fulfillment create dependence, and dependence creates submission. This is the real board, hidden under flowers and smiles. And the final secret of feminine nature is also its Machiavellian peak. She does not look for a man to love. She looks for a man she can control until she finally finds one who resists. When she finds a man who is easily manipulated, she uses him. When she finds a man who is emotionally fragile, she shapes him. When she finds a man who is dependent, she domesticates him. But when she finds a man who does not need her, who does not fear losing her, who does not bend to tears, to silence, to jealousy, to emotional blackmail, she does not run, she does not dominate, she does not destroy, she surrenders. Not out of love, but because her power does not work there. And when feminine power fails, respect appears. And from respect is born the only love that is not deformed by manipulation. But do not be mistaken. This scenario is rare, and very few men like this exist. The great majority are led, shaped, and bent. And the conscious woman will continue testing until the man proves that he does not belong to the herd. Because if there is something a woman fears more than rejection, it is irrelevance. The woman may love the weak, but she despises the submissive. She may need the provider, but she hates the dependent. She may use the naive, but she will always dream of the untamable. And the man who does not understand this suffers, begs, withers, and in the end loses. Because a man who gives up his identity to win the love of a woman ends up without love and without identity. This is the destiny of fools. But the destiny of the lucid is different. They see female nature for what it is, not a fairy tale, but an emotional battlefield. And in this field, the winner is not the most romantic, nor the most violent, nor the richest. It is the most immune. The man who controls his emotions is invincible, because what the woman most uses to dominate is exactly what he does not give. She can manipulate desire, she can manipulate fear, she can manipulate validation, but she cannot manipulate the man who does not need her. And so the independent man becomes the female nightmare and fascination. A man like this is dangerous, because he cannot be bought with praise, cannot be blackmailed with silence, cannot be controlled by guilt, cannot be moved by tears. Her weapons do not work. And when her weapons do not work, she loses the empire. And then she discovers the truth she hides. Female power does not lie in dominating all men, but in dominating those who allow themselves to be dominated. The rest she must respect, and respect is her last card. That is why the truly free man is the one who does not fight against the woman, but also does not fight for her. He stays because he wants to, not because he needs to, and this freedom is the only chain the woman accepts willingly. The ending is simple, cruel, and direct. There are two types of men in the game of female nature: the dominated and the untamable. The first will be used, shaped, drained, and discarded. The second will be tested, challenged, feared, and desired. The woman conquers the dominated, but she is conquered by the untamable. This is the end of the tale. This is the secret. This is the game. And the game is not about love, it is about power.